recording.
Hello and welcome to our conversation with Dr. Omar Miranda as we discuss FrankenFest here at USF, celebrating the 200th anniversary of Mary Shelley's masterpiece, Frankenstein. Dr. Miranda, thank you for joining me today to discuss FrankenFest and Frankenstein, and let's get started.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for organizing this. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. So my first question for you is, how excited are you about FrankenFest and that it's finally here?
Oh, I'm really excited. Right next to you are two posters for our events. Where today, in fact, we are launching a rare book exhibit for. It's titled Mary Shelley and Her Contemporaries on the Bicentenary of Frankenstein. We're doing two faculty panels. Faculty from the sciences and social sciences and the humanities are coming together to talk about the novel from all these different angles. And as you know, on Halloween, we have a campus-wide marathon reading of the novel. And it's just
Awesome.
And it's really exciting. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Excellent. So what has been the response from your colleagues, the nation, in fact?
I'm astounded just how enthusiastic and eager and willing people have been to participate in these events. In fact, this is part of a global event that's called FrankenReads. FrankenReads is a global event sponsored by the National Endowment for the Humanities and the Keats Shelley Association of America to celebrate Frankenstein during the month of October. And 600, I'm not even kidding, 600 institutions, colleges, libraries, universities across the globe, across all the continents, are representing and partaking of this reading of Frankenstein. The Library of Congress even is going to be reading Frankenstein on Halloween.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's
exciting.
It's very cool.
It has been argued that Frankenstein anticipates the struggles of the modern man, the rise of the working classes and the disenfranchised. Considering the social upheaval that happened barely a generation after the re-release of Frankenstein in 1831, is this a fair critique of the novel?
I would say yes, in part. I would say that if we revised that critique to say that Frankenstein is of and about its very own time, and is speaking about the modern man and the distant and disenfranchised populations in its very own time. This is a novel being written in the wake of the French Revolution, when thousands died for ideals of human equality, liberty, and fraternity. This is a time in which the world was experiencing war across several countries. This was a time of the slave trade. This was a time in which the economy was being revolutionized and transitioning from a mercantilist system to a market system. So I would say that yes, it does speak to the modern condition of humankind, but grounded in its very own time.
In the 1831 edition, Mary Shelley gives us the director's cut of Frankenstein. In the adding of seemingly minor details, such as extending the narrative of Victor's family life, how did it add to the overall questions of the novel? Did it highlight the morality struggle of Victor? Did it make the creature seem more relatable?
This is a very good question. To be very honest, I try to avoid the 1831 version. Yeah, really, in all honesty, because in this version, she makes Victor a little bit more sympathetic. She makes Victor out to be a victim of fate, a victim of immutable laws. She takes the maternal figure is seen as a bad thing suddenly, whereas in the original novel, it's not. She writes in her introduction that she and Victor were authors of unalterable errors.
Mm-hmm.
There's some kind of regret and lamenting that she's doing in the 1831 version that really wasn't there in the 1818 version that we're celebrating this year. And I think by far it's the more superior of the two.
Excellent.
Oh, and one more thing. In the 1831 version, Elizabeth does not defend Justine when she is put up to trial. So it's that sorority that was established, right? Woman looking after woman that was established in the 1818 version that is suddenly gone in the 1831 version. So there are considerable differences.
Oh, wow. Of course, one can argue that the creator of Frankenstein is a woman, Mary Shelley. However, had it been Dr. Victoria Frankenstein, what the overhanging themes have changed?
I think yes. To answer that question, it would change. I don't think the novel in its moment was ready for something like that. That being said, I would say that the novel, especially because Mary Shelley is the daughter of Mary Wollstonecraft, the author of A Vindication of the Rights of Woman, and known in many circles as the mother of the feminist movement.
Mm-hmm.
This was Mary Shelley's mother. And so knowing that, and knowing all of the discourses of human rights and characterization that she puts into the novel, I would say that the novel anticipates something like this. Dr. Victoria, did you say Dr. Victoria?
Yes.
Yes. I think the novel lays that groundwork, but in its own moment wasn't ready for something like this. I mean, after all, Mary Shelley published the novel anonymously, right? Just the very fact that a woman was writing about these subjects was perceived as scandalous.
Mm-hmm. In the novel, the creature has a powerful voice, yet late adaptations make him mute, except for a funny turn as the beloved Herman monster in the 1950s. Has silencing the creature or assimilating him into pop culture misconstrued his original threat or lesson to humanity?
Yes, that's unquestionable. The monster comes across, especially in the 1818 version, as more sympathetic than Victor Frankenstein. Right? That's the irony, right? That the non-human is the most human.
Yes.
whatever human means,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
But he is the one that is sympathetic. He is the one that has the most feelings, has this capacity for compassion that Victor lacks. And then it's through his trial and error that he loses that. And the novel, of course, ends tragically, but initially we have that sense of injustice, and we feel as readers an injustice, and it's because we follow the tale and the development of the monster who's being shunned constantly by others.
Both Victor and the creature go about the world as loners. However, instances illustrate that they both want to belong to a community. Is one of the lessons of Frankenstein, maybe of Shelley, that ambition has its place, but it is to the natural world and the connections we make that ultimately define us?
Yes. Mary Shelley is writing a version of the Faustian tale, the story of Dr. Faustus and the overreacher, the scientist, the person that goes too far, right? Too ambitious in that overreaching. Victor Frankenstein is definitely a Faustian creature who takes his ambition too far. And I think that's one great reading, right? That this is a cautionary tale. This is a cautionary tale that there are limits to what we can know, there are limits to what we can do. And yes, I think I like that. One of the gems, one of the lessons of the novel is community is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We can't succeed in isolation. We need one another. The monster, the creature yearns for companionship.
Mm-hmm.
and Victor is almost about to give it to him,
Yeah.
and then denies him that. And that's when the novel takes its downward turn,
Mhm,
when
mhm.
the creature does not have that opportunity to live in a society of like beings.
A full life. Finally, would you consider Frankenstein to be a morality play, a fable, or an allegorical tale?
Wow, what a question. Morality play, not technically, right?
Mhm.
Because it's written in prose. Fable, I would say, we're not dealing necessarily with animals, but it has elements of these two things.
Yeah.
In this novel. So I would say yes, it draws on these traditions. Allegory, I think there is a way to read this allegorically. There's a way to see us in the creature.
Mhm.
And there's a way to see us in Victor Frankenstein too. There's so many elements of us in both of these. It's such a relatable novel. It has so many universal themes, and I think this is one of the reasons why that it speaks so much to us today.
Yes.
And it will continue to speak to us because it's at the core a treatment of human manners.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Miranda, for talking to me about this masterpiece of Mary Shelley's and FrankenFest. Good luck with your events.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we look forward to joining you at them.
Thank you,
Learning
Kimberly.
more.
Thank you, Kimberly. I really enjoyed this. Thanks.